So welcome back. We are discussing about how to prepare for an interview focused towards the technology, IT or AI roles. Now we have seen in the previous lesson how the job requirements differ for these two categories, the managerial and the technological roles. And then we have also seen how the interview panel's approach and their questions differ for both these category of candidates. Now we shall see as a candidate how you should prepare in a different manner. The same manner in which you have prepared for an administrative or a leadership role, the same may be helpful, but only the same may not serve the purpose if you are appearing for a technology or IT related job. So what is the difference? We'll see now. Alright. We have seen that for managerial or leadership roles, these were the priorities. Alright. The speaking, behavior and all those things. And then now we know that for technology roles, the priority will be this. So see the contrast. Something which was the top priority in the earlier case has now become the last priority. It is not that it is not required, but it is the last priority. We have already discussed this in the previous section when we were talking about the administrative and leadership roles. We have discussed this. And these two things we understand. We know how important skills and qualifications are. So we'll take care of that. Now in this lesson, we shall be talking about this, the top priority, your job requirement. Alright. First, we will talk about what the technical employers actually want from you. If you are applying for a technology or IT role or AI role, what do the employer actually want from you? And then we shall also discuss what the employers don't want from you. Alright. Then we will discuss the hiring funnel in technology companies. This is nothing but the equivalent of interview stages. For a managerial or leadership role, you call it interview stages. But in a technology company, you call it the hiring funnel. Alright. And then we shall see how to navigate that funnel or how to prepare for that interview. Alright. So what do the technical employers really want from you? Think over. You see, the earlier traditional companies, they hired people and they valued people. Alright. Then came the technology companies and they started hiring skills. You know, they considered skills different from people. People without skills were practically of no use to these technology companies. And then have come these modern technology companies who are hiring value. Right? So people or skills without value is of no use to these companies. They are looking for value. Alright? And what does value comprise of? Value is made up of these three components. First is your technical competence. The second one is your problem solving ability. And the third is your behavioral or your professional behavior and your mindset, the technical mindset. These three things together comprise your value. And the technology companies are looking for all these three things in you. None of them is dispensable. Just in case you don't have one of them, you will have to build upon it and make your value complete, or rather enhance your value. Alright. So first, the value. Company wants to know whether you can code, you can test, you can automate, you can troubleshoot, you can design the systems, and at the same time you can work with the tools that they use. See, you may be knowing some tools, but the company which you are wanting to join, they may be using some other tools. Can you work on the tools which they are using, and plus can you do all these things? That is what the company wants to know. And when the interview happens, generally all candidates will claim that they have got good technical skills. But what is the proof? What is the measure of good technical skills? This is just a vague term. So that's why the employers want to dig deeper and find out the true things. They want to know, Can you explain your technical decisions clearly? When you take some technical decisions, can you explain them clearly? Can you break down a complex problem into a smaller parts? Or is it that you further confuse and complex or make it more complex? As a technology person, you should have the ability to break down a complex problem into smaller parts and then solve it. Okay, and then can you apply your fundamentals under pressure, or when you are under pressure you break down and you take shortcuts? That is not acceptable in high-tech companies. Shortcuts are not acceptable. All right, and then do you care about writing clean and maintainable codes? All right, or is it that the work which you do only you understand, nobody else can understand that? So these are the things which your interviewer would want to know. For example, let me explain with an example. Let us say that two candidates who are appearing for the interview, they are told to solve a coding problem. Now both of them are given the same problem, all right, and both of them are able to get the correct answer. This first person and the second lady both have got the correct answer. But when the interview panel asked them to explain, this person cannot explain how he did it. He has done it right, he got the right answer, but he cannot explain how he did it. This second lady, she can explain step by step as to how she did it and how she arrived at the conclusion or solved the coding problem. All right. So obviously she gets selected. Now, why is it so? For two reasons. One is that you should have the communication skills. What you do, you should be able to explain to others. And the second important thing is that what you do should not remain with you. It should not happen that you have done something and then you leave the company with your secrets. The work gets stuck up. When you do something, you should be able to explain it to others, you should be able to document it, and you should be able to preserve it so that when the company or when you leave the company, the work does not suffer. Somebody else is able to continue that work. Alright, so that is very important. For technological roles, you should be able to explain how you solved the problem. And then comes the problem solving and thinking ability. You see, can you solve problems independently? That is the thing, In an administrative or managerial role, there are people to assist you. There is a team and you work with people. Here in technological roles, there are certain problems, or rather most of the issues, can you handle them independently? So you should know data structures and algo problems, debugging, architecture, coding, everything you are supposed to know. And you should also be able to think, analyze, decide, improve, fix, and renovate. So everything, the complete sweet shop the employer wants in you. It is not, particular sweets. The entire sweet shop the employer wants in you. All right. So that is the thing. So they will pose questions like this. During the interview, the panel will pose questions like this. Your server went down at 2 a.m. in the night. What will you do now? So you have to explain. You have to do it and show it to them how you will resolve the issue. A client wants impossible timelines. Some client has come and he says, no, by tomorrow I want this to be done, which is practically not possible. So how will you handle that situation? How will you convince the client? Can you explain to him? Can you justify to him that what you are wanting is practically not possible? And then a bug only appears in production and not during testing. You have designed some software for some machine. During testing, the bug does not appear. But the moment you put it in production, then the bug, comes in. So how do you isolate that bug? Can you explain? Such type of questions will come in your interview when you appear for a technological or IT or AI related jobs. All right. Now comes, what do the technical employers don't want in you. There are certain things which the technical employers hate. They don't want it. What is it? First is they don't want candidates who memorize answers without understanding the fundamentals. You will find people who will memorize answers and solve them, but they are not able to apply the fundamentals. Such candidates are not wanted in technological companies. All right. And then candidates who blame others for their failures and they don't own up responsibilities. In technological companies, there will be n number of failures. When you do something, it is very likely that at times you will fail. So it happens. If you fail, you should be able to accept your responsibility and then solve that problem. But if you start blaming others, technological companies does not work like that. You have to own your responsibility. And then they don't like people who brag and pretend to know everything. You may be knowing everything, but still you are not entitled to brag about it or pretend that you know, because there is always something in technology. Technology is evolving so fast that by the time you learn one thing, a new thing comes up. So nobody can say that they know everything. All right. And then they don't like people who argue and get defensive. Technology is supposed to solve the customer's problem. You cannot argue that so and so things cannot be done. As a tech savvy person or as a high tech person, you are expected to have a solution for everything. Do not argue with your clients, do not get defensive. All right. And then these companies, the tech companies, they don't want people who cannot communicate and they freeze under pressure. See, the behavioral aspects and all those things may not be so essential, but you should be able to communicate with people, with your clients, with your colleagues, with your major clients with whom you are operating, or for the clients to whom you are providing your services. You should be able to communicate with them. Don't freeze under pressure. All right. And then they also don't like people who can produce results but they are not able to explain how you did it. I have already told you the reason for this. All right. So if you are able to do something, then you should also be able to explain using the fundamentals as to how you have done it. All right. And the last point, they like tech savvy people, but they don't like people who are tech savvy but they are not business focused, because technology is all about business. At the end of the day, you should be able to generate money for your company. Technology, unfortunately, is not a social work, it is a business. So apart from being tech savvy, you have to be business focused. All right. So the ultimate hiring formula of the technology companies or the IT and AI companies like Google, Microsoft, all these people, you need to have knowledge, you need to have skill, you need to have a technical mindset, and you should be able to communicate. All these four things are essential. If you have all these four things, you are hired. But if any of these thing is missing, then you may be a misfit. But not to worry, you will, once you know what is required, and if you don't have any particular thing, then you should focus and develop that thing in you. Suppose if you don't have that communication skill, not very difficult, learn to communicate. All right. If knowledge, of course, you will have skills. If there is some shortfall, build up your skills. And when you have the knowledge, when you have the skills, and if you are able to communicate, the mindset will automatically build up. Because unless you have that mindset, you would not have come into the technological field. All right. So these are the things which are required. Any of them is missing is a handicap. Build upon that. But a combination, if you have, then it is unbeatable. All right. Now in the next lesson, we shall talk about the hiring funnel for the technology companies, IT companies and the AI roles. And then in the subsequent lesson, probably how to face that funnel or how to face that interview. All right.